What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and one that I've been pretty excited about just because I discovered this band last year, and they were one of the heaviest fucking things I heard last year. So we're going to go over the newest offering from Kruelty, Untopia. This also comes out on the 17th of March. Happy St. Paddy's Day once again, whenever you see this. This comes out on Profound Lore Records. This band formed in 2017 in Tokyo, Japan. This is their second album overall. I first heard about these guys with their split with Terminal Nation called Ruination of Imperialism. It might have been the heaviest split I listened to all last year because both of those bands are just insanely heavy. I went out and I picked up their lone full-length Dying Truth and pretty much had my head caved in by how heavy that was. And yeah, for those that don't know, this is hardcore slash death metal slash death doom, all kind of blended together to be the heaviest thing imaginable. This is heavier than Godzilla's footsteps, and I would say the guitar tone is thicker than his fucking skin.
Yeah, for me personally, this is my first real full introduction to this band. Oddly enough, before I even heard them, I knew who they were, and I knew kind of what I was getting into just by their sound alone. Right off the bat, with the opening track, Unknown Nightmare, it is immediately horribly unsettling. I mean, we're talking slimy, filthy, fucking grimy sounds and tons of whispers
Chants.
and chants, and there's a bell and a weird just kind of
Yeah.
It's
creepy.
Immediately I'm like, ugh, all right.
Yeah, it immediately sets kind of a mood, but that mood is kind of just pulverized as soon as you hear the guitars come in and just laying into the nastiest, heaviest, punchiest grooves imaginable.
I mean, imagine not changing the strings on your guitar for quite some time, just these rusty strings, but somehow it's in tune, but it's just dipping your guitar into a vat of oil and then being all right, fuck it, we're just gonna record. That's kind of the sound.
It's gross. It's absolutely filthy. And you could play anything on this tone and it would be the grossest thing imaginable. You could start playing Foo Fighters and Weezer songs dude, Foo Fighters are fucking brutal now. But the big thing about this band is laying on grooves, these simple, primal, disgusting riffs. This is heaviness without mercy, I would say. It is just non-stop beatdowns.
Mm-hmm.
It might get to a thrashy pace here and there, definitely settling some D beats, some sort of grindy two steps you would hear from Mortician and shit like that. But the power of this band comes in the groove and the fucking destructively heavy breakdowns.
Mm-hmm. And this is everything I love about all of what you just said. Pretty much Sanguicinabog and 200 Stab Wounds and Frozen Soul and Phobophilic, but all the heaviest versions of those.
Yeah.
It's nothing but breakdown after breakdown after breakdown, really. And I mean, you can just straight picture kids punching other kids in the head.
Oh, yeah, dude. This is Unga Bunga, Ooga Booga. It does both all the fucking time. There's a lot of build-up in terms of, you hear a section kind of grooving along, stops on a fucking dime, and vocalist shouts, what the fuck ever. I don't know, it comes out as,
yes.
And, yes, sir, whatever you say, I am ready to hit my best friend in the face.
But you can oddly tell that they're from Japan.
Yeah, no, well, there's lyrics in Japanese.
Yes.
I mean, I don't really pay attention to the lyrics when it comes down to, a lot of, more primal stuff.
I don't either.
It's more about the intonation, and this frontman has a great fucking delivery.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It comes out very powerfully, but he also carries on with, some longer notes every now and then, and he's just got a good bleh. I mean, you gotta have bleh in this style.
I mean, especially in this style of music. The cool thing about the breakdowns, when you think about the hardcore nature of most of these songs, because really a lot of it is D beats. There's not a lot of blasting going on. For the most part, it's just transitioning to D beats.
Yeah.
But when they do these breakdowns, it's not typical. It's not like most of the bands we mentioned where it would be more of a hardcore format. It's more doom.
Yeah. And that is a really interesting thing. They essentially take a good death doom breakdown. One of the first bands I thought of was Untopia, and that isn't just because they're Japanese, it's also because they write giant death doom breakdowns. But they kind of take that, instead of like doing like those single droning riffs while playing like just unbelievably slow, they kind of add like a chuggy hitch to it. That hardcore kind of creeps its way in there, but you still get like this doomy atmosphere, and occasionally you even get like some lead accompaniment, which is mostly like, you know, dive bombs and squeals. There's a little bit of melody here and there, but mostly it's about maintaining this hostile but kind of just murky, dense, ugly atmosphere. The first thing I wrote when I was doing this review, and honestly when I was listening to their last album, A Dying Truth, was, is this a hardcore band that loves death metal, or is this a death metal band that loves hardcore? And my answer is still yes. It's a little bit of both. Like, there's tons of hardcore energy. In fact, I would say what really drives this in terms of the intensity is the hardcore nature. Like, this is about churning the pits. Like, we were talking about, like, how this could be used as like a fucking test run. Like, you watch people live, and if they stop their heads moving or stop punching each other, okay, we hit a dead spot. This is all about maintaining intensity.
Right, we fucked up, we did something wrong. I don't see anybody moving right here. This band ensures that at any given point in any given song, you're moving, whether it be something, you know, a little bit thrashy here and there, whether it be something hardcore and more tempo, or whether it be a nasty, doomy, fucking filthy breakdown. You're always moving. Like, there's no real time in here except for in the beginning of Unknown Nightmare, or say the beginning of Maze of Suffering, where it's another like slimy fucking woman screaming.
Yeah.
Those are the only two times I can think of in the entire record, you know, 39 minutes or something, where it's non-stop movement.
And again, like, you do get like some thrashier pockets. Like, there's some on Burn the System, but that also ends in a gigantic, doomy, bendy fucking riff that absolutely could just pulverize an entire continent. And the absolutely awesome opening riff on Manufactured Insanity, which almost kind of sounds like Mortician covering Sepultura. Like, it just kind of has that death thrash sort of vibe, but immediately transitions into their groovy pocket, because that's the thing. Like, they want that groovy pocket. There's a lot of like bolt thrower, you know, sort of stuff, like hardcore bands playing bolt thrower. Like, I mean, definitely some comparisons to Frozen Soul there too. But Maze of Suffering kind of is maybe like probably the most death metal centric one, like Death Doom, honestly. There are some galloping blasts on there, and there are some absolutely gross tremolo riffs on it.
And that's the thing too, like in Burn the System, the end of Burn the System has some really not only gross tremolo, but something that would almost be close to like a Morbid Angel style lead, almost. I don't want to say leads, because there aren't really leads here. You do get pockets of melody. In the last song, Untopia, you get a bunch of melody, but like in the end of Burn the System, there is kind of close to what would be a lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there mostly for atmosphere. Mostly to kind of keep things kind of creepy and ominous while you're getting, you know, your head caved in by a fucking log or something. That just seems like something the crowd would do listening to this. Like, they find a log and then they just beat you until your wet skull meat in the fucking floor. But Untopia, like, the opening of that is vastly different than I would say anything else in the album. It's almost like a death metal band covering Cave In for a bit. You have like more dissonant melodies, and they're more atmospheric.
And for the first time, I think in the whole record, the melody is slightly, and I say slightly, the melody is slightly brighter for a moment. Like, you get this very small inclination of hope-ish, maybe.
No.
But then it's immediately back to the heaviest thing you've ever heard. So, not really.
And that is the main gear here. Heavier than everything. Again, the riff work on here is simple but effective. This is one of those bands where you'd say there's not many ingredients to the meal. Like, there's hardcore, there's death metal, and there's like doom/death doom. It's all stirred up and served to you. You get varying portions of stuff, and honestly, it works. You know, the kind of fewer ingredients, like, it stays meat and potatoes, it stays vicious, and the whole thing is about kind of keeping that rage heightened. But at the same time, one of my issues on here is, for what it is, and the thing that I like about this style of like kind of caveman death metal mixed with hardcore is it does transition way too much. Like, that is kind of an issue on here.
That's my gripe as well. We were talking earlier, like, they don't hang on to really anything long enough, and especially when it comes to a heavy breakdown. For me, if you're gonna put a breakdown in a song, ride it a little bit, dry hump it a little bit. Like it's heavy. It's supposed to convey a point in the song where you just want to beat the piss out of somebody. But in this case, you can't really do that because they don't spend long enough on anything for you to be able to really establish a resonance with it.
I would agree. There are sections where they do stay on a breakdown for a little bit longer or just kind of dry hump a riff. But for the most part, they seem like they hang on a measure and then it's on to the next build. So you're kind of in this perpetual state of come in strong, change it up maybe a little bit early, and then kind of building it back. But the build backs are kind of fun.
Yes.
Like the build backs are honestly, things I started to look forward to in the song. Is like, all right, they're going to isolate it. They're going to have like one nasty riff playing. Dude's going to yell some shit that's completely unintelligible and I won't care. And it's going to come in with, what I would describe as a doom slam. Like it just kind of slows shit down. You have that palm muted sort of dying fetus kind of riff, but it's like it's being played by a hooded menace.
Yeah.
How is that not the heaviest fucking thing?
That's a really good comparison. That's really good. That's really good. Good job.
No, I have my moments.
Yeah, you do. This was one of those moments. I'll give you that one.
And if I was going to complain about one other thing, and it's kind of tied to the transitions, is the songs might run a little bit long for songs that transition as often as they do. Like, if you're going to do like a 5 to 6 minute song, there are just sections I would love for you to stay on. Like, there are so many good fucking riffs on here, and so many unbelievably heavy moments that I would just wish that they would carry on a little bit longer.
Well, and especially how those moments are made, because when you get something that they hang on to a little bit longer, they spice it up by putting a little melody into it, like namely like Phobophilic and how they do it, where they get a lot of just like slimy fucking melodies and, tremolo melodies and things like that. And it's like this band knows how to do that, but for some reason they abandon it too quick. And like if you're gonna put that much build and emphasis on what you're doing, don't be so quick to throw it away.
Yeah. But even with that issue, man, I had a damn good time listening to this. Like, this is just, again, that primal unga bunga ooga booga shit. Though I feel like I was, like halfway to booga and then I was kind of left with booga balls in some of those transitions. We've all been there. It's okay. But hopefully I'll come back harder than before, like the second track on here. No, seriously though, I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. The transitions kind of got in the way, but honestly, what they would transition into was also something that I really fucking enjoyed. In terms of these giant spells of building energy, they do a great job. Like when those breakdowns fucking hit that they've been teasing for a little bit, it's fucking massive. They absolutely fucking detonate, and I really wish they wouldn't detonate so quickly. Like more of a slow burn would be cool. But I mean, outside of that, dude, like, I love the vibe of this album, the feel of it. It is primal, it is raw, it is filled with pissed off fucking young energy that I will stay clear away from the fucking pit, the entire show for this one. I'll be hanging back like an old man scared that every bone in his body's gonna break because y'all fucking are spinning around throwing fucking ninja kicks and fucking, bricks at each other. Like, I'm pretty sure that let them throw bricks.
Even in my younger years, I couldn't do that. I don't know what is happening now. It's got to be something in the water that wasn't there when we were kids.
Yeah, this is one of the most aggressive albums I think I've listened to this year. There's plenty of year to go, but yeah, this is just fucking brutal as hell. And again, if you like stuff like Creeping Death, Frozen Soul, Mortician, Incantation, like just the heaviest shit, check this out.
Yeah. I mostly agree with everything Nick said. For me, it gets a 3.5, and I'll put it right out there immediately. The half star for me on the 3 is because they transition as much as they do. Like, don't get me wrong, they do it well. And every time they transition into something that was heavier than it was before. But for me as a listener, I like to see less transition and more hanging on to really heavy riffs. They're obviously really good at that. I won't knock this band at all on their ability to write bone-crunching, heavy, doomy, nasty breakdowns. But I just don't like to see a transition every 30 seconds to convey that point. Other than that, they do what they do very well. This is nasty, gnarly, grimy, slimy, death doom hardcore slash death metal mix. It's a culmination of all those things. Immediately in the beginning, they set this nasty atmosphere, and it's almost like you immediately know what you're getting into with something that gross sounding. And they bring it with every song. It is virtually impossible to stop moving your head during this album. Like, it's nonstop. It's one punch right after the other. And that's really cool. Much like Nick said, if you're a fan of things like, Sanguine Sugabog and 200 Stab Wounds and Frozen Soul and Creeping Death and Phobophilic and Tribal Gaze and Mortician and Incantation and all the heaviest things you can think of, you're going to love the fuck out of this. It's very entertaining. Just a little bit too transition happy for me. Still, 3.5 stars. It's a fuck of a rating. Definitely check these guys out. Give them a day in court. I guarantee if you love heavy music, you're going to love this band.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there is a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon is there, as well as our store. We will eventually reload on stuff, but we have been preoccupied with Denver Death Fest.
With Denver Death Fest, here we are a month before Denver Death Fest. I can't believe we're to this point. We have a pretty amazing lineup. We have a ton of great sponsors. Thank you to all of you. We have 3 days of some pretty solid death metal, and the really cool thing about this festival is we kept it all death metal because we wanted to throw a proper death fest. I'm not saying nobody else does, but for our first run, this is a really, really good, solid thing. I'm very proud and honored to be a part of this. It's been a blast through and through. Come join us for this one, April 20th through the 22nd in Denver, Colorado at the King Room. $60 for 3 days, $45 for 2 days, and $25 for 1 day. And even on 1 day, you're still going to see 10 bands, and each of those days is stacked. You're going to like somebody somewhere. So come out, join us. Have a beverage, have a smoke, have a burger, have a beer, buy some merch, buy some shit, hang out, shake some hands, take some pictures. That's what we're going to do. That's what you should do, too.
And, of course, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, following, all that shit. The thank you part, I know, I'm going to keep it brief this time, because I never say anything really relevant other than...
Thank you.
You guys all fucking rule. You guys all keep us going. And we have a ton of content coming your way, so we will catch you later.